Welcome to Backstage Pass with Gail Davis, your invitation into the world of keynote speaking and event planning expertise. Join us as we pull back the curtain and dive into exclusive interviews with speaking industry experts. From seasoned speakers to master event planners, we're here to provide you with the ultimate backstage experience. Get ready to unlock valuable insights, tips, and strategies that will elevate your events and leave your audience inspired. Welcome back to Backstage Past. I am your host, Gail Davis, and today our guest is someone whose story really does remind us that life doesn't have to be perfect to be powerful. At just 19 years old, Jeremy Poincenot lost his central vision due to a rare genetic disorder. What could have been the end of everything he knew, sports, independence, direction, turned into a story of resilience, reinvention, and remarkable teamwork. Today, Jeremy is not only a world champion blind golfer, but a powerful speaker who travels the world sharing what it means to move from independence to interdependence and how we can all rise up through adversity when we stop going it alone. I am so excited to have my friend Jeremy join us today. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you so much for having me, Gail. That was a very lovely intro. Thank you.
I think that I first met you at NSA in Colorado. Is that? No, not NSA. Was it NSA? IASB, International Association of Speakers Bureaus.
That's it. Yeah. IASB in Colorado, 2023.
And I think that's where I got my nickname.
That's 100% where you got your nickname. Absolutely.
Should we tell that story?
Absolutely. Do you want to tell it, or do you want me to tell it?
Well, I think you should. I think it makes more sense for you to. I mean, I know my nickname is Cashmere, but maybe you can explain why.
Yeah, I think after I spoke at IASB and gave my presentation, there was, kind of mixing and mingling taking place after. And you were with Debbie Barella and Karis. And
that's right.
Gave the three of you each a hug. And I think you were the last one I gave a hug to. And then I said, Gail, are you wearing cashmere right now? And you're like, yes, I am. I said, I love cashmere. And I might be a legally blind guy who might not be able to see colors or things as well as most, but I know my materials, and cashmere is a great material. And so from then on, you've been cashmere. So all emails and texts I send you, it starts with cashmere ! And we go from there.
I love it. I love it. Well, I think that's a fun story, and it has definitely endeared you to me. And one of the things I did right after meeting you was put you on the calendar for my EO Dallas learning year. I was the learning chair for my chapter, and we try to have a nice mix of speakers who come in and just talk to members and their spouses, and then also experiential speakers, and we love to have a family event here or there. So with you, I believe you were our last event of the year, and we did it at a Top Golf facility, and we invited members' children's age 13 and above, and it was great because you have slides, you went through your story, and then we just went out and everybody was at their bays at Top Golf, and you hit the ball with us. And I think it was really a lot of fun.
It was a ton of fun. And I think that's one of the really fun things about doing experiential events, be it with EO or YPO or really any group that wants to put something on like that. It's one thing to be a speaker, stand on stage, share your story, inspire folks, educate them a little bit, but then you leave after that to give a presentation and then follow it up with something experiential like we did at Top Golf to not only say, hey, I'm legally blind, I play competitive blind golf, but then it's like, hey, let's go out on the bays at Top Golf and you can watch me hit it.
Yeah.
I try to inspire on the stage, but I might demoralize a little bit in the Top Golf bays. I don't know if people like it, that a legally blind guy can hit it a little better than them. That might not be fun for them.
To be fair, you had a lot of experience with golf before you lost your eyesight, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I played 3 years varsity in high school. I didn't play in college. I wanted the D1 college experience, but I
Mhm.
lost my sight my sophomore year of college. I was a good golfer then, but then, yeah, kind of everything
Yeah.
changed after that.
Before we go into your story, you're talking about experiential. I think we just booked you for another organization where you actually play golf, not Top Golf at the Bays, but you actually play golf. And I believe you brought your father to serve as your caddy. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, it was really cool. We did an event with the YPO group in Pittsburgh, and it was actually at Oakmont Country Club, which just hosted the U.S. Open. So, in talks with the organizers, they said, "Hey, the event's going to take place at Oakmont the month before the U.S. Open. Do you have any interest in playing the course?" I said, "Do I?" Yeah, and I said, "Hey, would it be okay for my father to join us?" And they said, "Yeah." So, I mean, it's one of those really cool pinch me moments, Gail, where
Yeah.
I went legally blind at 19, and you could say, "Wow, that's such a horrible thing. I feel sorry for that guy." But at the end of the day, uh, I would have never had an opportunity to go to Oakmont Country Club, give a
That's right.
presentation to a group, get to play the course with my father, had I not lost my sight. So if you really look at it from afar, you kind of go, "Wow." I would say I've had a lot more good things happen to me post sight loss than bad.
I obviously I know a lot of people being in this industry that have had a life altering event. And isn't that just the grace of God or whatever you believe in that people always end up with that perspective? Not always, but many do, where they can look back and go, you know what? I probably wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
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 I
I
love
think it's the ones who come out of it and kind of start to thrive post
it. Mhm.
trauma,
Mhm.
and kind of grow post trauma, I think are the ones who are able to see it as something that was maybe more of a blessing than a burden.
Okay, let's go back because I know the story and I know it wasn't overnight that you decided to be all positive.
Yeah.
Take us back to I believe you just said it was your freshman year in college. No, or sophomore.
Sophomore. Yeah. Yeah.
Sophomore year. You're 19 years old. Start with the listeners about walking across the campus and calling your mom because you thought maybe you were needed an eye checkup.
Yeah, I was 19, like you said, sophomore in college. I was kind of top of the world. I felt invincible, as I think most 19-year-old men feel in college. I was in a fraternity. Life was great. And one day I'm walking around San Diego State's campus, and I noticed I had to squint to read a sign. And I had fraternity brothers and friends who had glasses or contacts, and I went, okay, I think that's probably my turn to go get something like that. So
Yeah.
I did what, like you said, I did what any other 19-year-old would do in that situation, and I called my mom, and I said, "Hey, Ma, I think I need glasses or contacts. Can you set up an optometrist appointment for me?" I didn't set it up. I asked her to do it for me. So I went and saw the optometrist, and essentially, I went from having perfect 20/20 vision to where it is today in a matter of 2 months. And I lost my central vision first in my right eye, and 2 months later in my left eye. And the reason I was squinting was because I didn't have central vision in my right eye, but you can compensate with a good eye.
Mhm.
But in 2 months, my left eye went as well, and it was due to a rare genetic disorder I didn't know I had, but had it. And the onset was when I was 19 and a sophomore in college.
So, when you got the diagnosis, did you drop out of school? What happened next?
I didn't drop out. I took incompletes. So you kind of,
Mhm.
if you go through something like this, at least at San Diego State, and from my understanding, a lot of campuses allow this, but you can take incompletes from your classes, and you basically get a year to complete them. And so we
Mhm.
were coming up on winter break. We were coming up on finals and stuff. And so I took incompletes from my 5 classes at San Diego State
Mhm.
and kind of went home and tried to get a diagnosis and find out what was going on, because for the 2 months I was losing my sight, doctors were misdiagnosing me with a lot of things that were more common. And then I finally got diagnosed with what I have, LHON. And um, yeah, I took the incompletes and kind of went through the stages of grief for a period of time.
Mhm.
And then I went back to school the following semester and finished those 5 classes kind of through emailing the professors and doing certain projects to be able to complete those courses. But
Mhm.
went back to school and slowed it all down and started back up with only taking 2 classes the next semester.
Didn't you have a friend
I
that
did.
really encouraged you? And but before you got the call from the friend, I mean, You were pretty much like on the couch feeling sorry for yourself. Is that an accurate statement?
That is more than accurate. Yeah, I was on the couch. I was sulking, complaining, thinking, "Why me?" Was bitter. I didn't know that you could go legally blind in 2 months at 19 years old, and I always thought like, "Hey, I'm a pretty stand-up guy. I was a nice person." I was like, "Why did this happen to me?
Sure.
I'll be even nicer going forward if I can get my sight back. Please, whatever I need to do, I'll do it." And I think that's kind of the bargaining of the stages of grief, but. Yeah, I was definitely depressed and having a tough time comprehending that this can happen.
Which came first, your mom telling you about blind golf or your friend calling you and saying, "Come on, you need to come back to school"?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know. They happened probably within a month of each other, and they were two polar opposite things, right? Like my mom came to me at one point and says, she was doing a ton of research, and my mom's incredible. My mom is practically the person who diagnosed me when doctors were misdiagnosing me. She was doing research and came to the doctors like, I think my son has this thing called LHON, and these are the reasons why. And doctors were telling her like, ma'am, I'm a physician, you're not. Like
Mhm.
we have an idea of what it is, and she ended up being right.
Wow.
But in her research, she knew I was obsessed with golf, and I assumed I was never going to be able to play again. And she's amazing. She found the USBGA, the United States Blind Golf Association, and saw that there's tournaments all over the world that these golfers compete in. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing for Jeremy. This is going to change his life. This is going to be the thing that helps him." And she came up to me and she said, "Jeremy, there's this blind golf thing," and told me all about it. And she was super excited. And I wasn't in a great place to take that. I was just like, "No, mom, I'm not interested." And
Wow.
I didn't want to embarrass myself. I didn't see it as a path that I was going to go down at some point. So I was kind of like, I don't know, mom. So I didn't take her up on it at first.
When did you take her up on it?
Uh, After a period of time, well, my dad worked in the golf industry, and
Mhm.
before I had lost my sight, he got me a new set of clubs,
Uh-huh.
and he was going to give them to me at Christmas. And then he was like, "Do I give him the clubs now that he's
Yeah.
legally blind, or is that not a good thing? Should I not give him the clubs?" And he's like, "Well, I'm just going to give him the clubs." And I remember that Christmas receiving the clubs, and if I had been sighted still, I'd have been elated. But now post sight loss, I'm like, "What are you doing? Like,
Yeah.
why are you dangling this carrot in front of a blind guy who can't see the carrot? What are you doing?" I was pretty upset about it. And after a period of time, I was like, "You know what, Dad? I'll go to the driving range with you with these new clubs. I'd love to just try to hit them and see how it feels, and let's give it a shot." But I said, "Hey, if I swing and miss one and I don't hit the ball, I'm done. I'm not doing this. I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to, I'm just done." And I didn't miss any. And some of them, when I hit it, I could feel the feeling of a good golf shot. And golfers out there know that. Like you don't need to see to feel what a good golf shot
Right.
feels like. And I was like, "Okay, Dad, I think I'm interested in trying this blind golf thing. Let's give it a shot."
I think we talked about this before. I believe you have met Tom Sullivan. Is that correct?
I've played in a blind golf tournament with Tom Sullivan. Yeah.
So, I adore him. And Tom, unlike you, was blind from birth.
Yeah.
And at one point, he was a spokesperson for Callaway Golf.
Yeah.
And I remember him telling me, "Oh, I'm so much better than sighted guys because I'm not distracted by anything.
Yeah.
I just know what it feels like." And he said, "And plus, I can get a tea time at midnight, you know?" Doesn't matter.
Tom's hilarious. Tom is a one of one, and he's incredible.
Yeah, he is. Okay, so mom did the research. She helped with the diagnosis. She got you into blind golf. But let's talk about that friend because that really touched me that another kid could be in college and reach out to you and go, "Come on, dude, I'm here for you." I mean, I would love to think that one of my sons would do that. That is such a cool story.
Yeah, I agree. And now I'm a father of two young boys, and I hope they can be like my friend Josh. And Josh, like Tom
Gosh.
Sullivan, is a one of one. And he
Uh-huh.
called me when I was sulking on the couch and just said, "Hey, Jeremy, come back to school the next semester. Are you planning on coming back?" And I said, "I don't know, man. I'm like, this is a lot to handle. And I don't want to go back to school and be judged by people. I'm going to feel awkward about everything now being legally blind. Everyone knew me as a guy who could see, and now I'm legally blind. And I don't know, man. I don't know if I can do it." And he's like, "Come on, give it a shot." And he's like, "Hey, tell you what, come back. take it easy, take 2 easy classes, and in my 5 class schedule, I'll take those same 2 classes with you, and I'll be there to support you and be by your side throughout the whole thing. And I was like, wow, okay. I wanted to drop out. Like that was definitely what was pulling me the most, was to just drop out and say I'm done. That was the easy way out. But to
Sure.
have a friend reach out and say, "Hey, I'm there for you," it was kind of like, okay, I have to take him up on it. And if I don't enjoy the experience at any point, I can then drop out.
Yeah.
So I went back to school. I took 2 easy classes. I took intro to music and intro to film. And hey, intro to film for a blind guy was a lot tougher than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be an easy A, and we got the A, but it was not as easy as I thought with all the visual components to it. But Josh was there with me throughout that semester, and that kind of was the snowball effect of, okay, I got back in. I took 2 easy classes with Josh. I took 2 harder classes the next semester, then 3, then 4, and then continued on to graduate. Josh helped me that first semester, but I was able to kind of continue on my own with assistance from other friends, but didn't need a friend in every class going forward.
You a little bit about these two words that you really have become an expert in, independence and interdependence. Because I think Josh and going back to school and well, and even having your dad as a caddy, all that relates to these two central themes.
Yeah, I think it really does. I think in society and in the workplace, we're very gung ho independent. We think, hey, I'm going to get things done on my own. I'm not going to ask for help. And we view asking for help as a weakness. And I thought that too when I was a 19-year-old sophomore in college. I was very independent, never wanted to ask for help because I didn't want to be viewed as less than or weak. And I didn't want to be vulnerable, truthfully. And it took me losing my sight to see this, pun intended, but I lost my sight and then became very dependent again and had to regain my independence as a legally blind person. But through that experience, I got to see that there's something more than independence, something more powerful, something more meaningful, and that's interdependence. And that's being somebody who's independent, but who can work with other people who are also independent to be interdependent, to do more together than we can on our own. And just like you
Mhm.
said, Josh showed me the power of interdependence. My dad, who's my guide in every competitive round of blind golf that we play in, that's interdependence. Like independently, we can be fine, but together interdependently, we do more than we ever could on our own. And it's a beautiful thing that took losing my sight to be able to see it. And now as a speaker, I try to share that with everybody I speak to, is this power of interdependence that we can all see, whether it's in the workplace or in society, and realize that, hey, we're better together than we are on our own, and asking for help is actually a strength and not a weakness.
Yeah, I know that that is the feedback we've gotten from a lot of organizations where you have given your talk, that it really made them rethink the culture in their organization and how teams collaborate and how teams work together to achieve more. So that's good.
Thank you.
Um, you don't really just talk about resilience, you've lived it. And how do you help audiences who are sitting there listening to you, and probably they're not dealing with loss of sight, but everybody gets into the why me, what now, this isn't fair, I didn't deserve this. So what tools do you offer members of your audience to shift from trauma to triumph, if you will?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, like I'm gonna share my story, but I have to make it relevant and relatable to the audience. I know as a speaker that everybody in the audience is tuned into the same radio station, and that's WIIFM. What's in it for me? So if I'm gonna tell you my story of my sight loss journey, you're like, okay, wow, that's interesting. Wow, that's crazy. I couldn't imagine that. But what am I gonna get from this? So at the end of the day, like you said, they might not be dealing with a sight loss journey like I went through, but they're either dealing with something, have dealt with something, or are going to deal with something. And at the end of the day, when they do, the tools that I try to teach them are, hey, we need to maintain perspective on our situation. It's really easy to make things a bigger deal than they actually are. I think we need to focus on the good and open our eyes to what we have rather than dwell on what we don't have or what we think we need to have to be happy. I think that's something
Mhm.
that I learned post sight loss, is like a lot of us have what we need to be happy, but
Mhm.
we've been taught that we have these if then statements of if this happens, then I'll be happy, or once I have this
Sure.
thing, then I'll be happy. And it's like we keep postponing our happiness when in reality, we have the things we need to be happy. And that's something that I try to teach. Um, and a couple other things, I think we need to suspend judgment on things. When things are presented to us, we want to say, wow, that's amazing. Or alternatively, oh my gosh, that's horrible. But when you place judgment on something right away, you've immediately you've said what it is. And if you say something's amazing right away, if it doesn't live up to the hype you put on it, then it's hard to truly enjoy it in the moment.
True.
And if you say something's horrible right away, then it's really hard. It's a lot harder to come back from that than if you suspend judgment. And that's something that I try to teach as well. It's like when I lost my sight, I was like, wow, worst thing that's ever happened to me. Now, 16 years later, I'd go, you know what? I've had a lot more good than bad come from this. And I don't know if I'd actually change this.
Well, speaking of a lot more good, tell us about meeting your wife, because I assume you met her after you lost your eyesight and you
Yeah.
have a family. Talk a little bit about some of that good that came about.
Yeah, that's a lot of the good. I met my wife about 7 months post sight loss. It was at the Rose Bowl Stadium. San Diego State was playing UCLA in a football game, and my fraternity brothers were partaking in, let's say, some extracurricular activities. And I was off to the side having a conversation with a friend, and we were both sitting. And I noticed in my periphery there was a girl standing next to us. And I
Uh-huh.
stood up and offered her my seat, and she said, "Thank you." She sat down. Believe it or not, there's chivalry in Southern California. And she sat down. We started chatting, and I just felt extremely comfortable with her in our conversation. And I was still very uncomfortable in my own skin 7 months post sight loss. Like, I was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Maybe I seemed more comfortable on the outside, but internally I was freaking out at all times. And with her, I felt extremely comfortable. And within a minute of us talking, I said, "Hey, you know I'm legally blind, right?" And she was like, "Yeah, I heard." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And a conversation kept going. A week later, I asked her out on a date. She accepted. We went out on that date, and we've been together now for over 15 years.
I have goosebumps. I love that story.
She's
I
the
love it.
best.
And how many children do you have?
We have two boys. We have a four and a
Uh-huh.
half year old Palmer and a 2 year old Beckett.
Oh, those are great names. I
Oh,
love it.
thank you. Thank you. Cashmere was
Um,
in the running, but we didn't go with it.
yeah. Well, maybe if you have a daughter,
Maybe, maybe.
you know, I
That'd be a
mean,
beautiful name.
that would
Yeah.
be, that would crack me up. Um, so I know that we have booked you a lot for EO, and you mentioned YPO. So that includes what I like to call member organizations. But I
Yes.
know you're busy all the time speaking. So I'm curious what types of events you get booked for. Um, you know, there's sales kickoffs, there's incentive trips, there's leadership meetings, there's client events. What are you seeing the trends?
Well, I mean, it's probably a bad answer to say any and all of them, right? I've done a lot of SKOs. I did a leadership event with a hospital organization with you guys in January. I did an incentive trip in Costa Rica with a company in February, where with that event and a lot of the experiential events, that one I gave a keynote one morning, and then the next night hosted a dining in the dark experience. So that's another one of those
Talk to us about
experiential
that.
things. Yeah, that's another one of those experiential events where, hey, a keynote is a great one-to-many conversation, but then to do something experiential after the keynote, like the Top Golf or a golf experience, we offer a dining in the dark experience where everybody sits down and we have a 3-course meal where everybody is blindfolded, and for at least an hour you're having a 3-course meal that's plated and served to you, but you're eating it blindfolded, and it's a very eye-opening experience, pun intended. But one where people afterwards, we always have a debrief, and it's something that with the EO groups or the YPO groups or even these companies that I do them with, it's something where with the debrief, it's like, hey, what did you learn from this? And folks, the conversations are great. I just had someone on LinkedIn post like the 5 things they learned from the
Oh,
keynote and
cool.
dining in the dark experience, and I thought it was better written than if I were to write it myself. And that was
I'll
an
have to.
EO Boston member. So all of those, to answer your question, done insurance groups. I'm doing MDRT global conferences here in Macau,
You
China.
are?
Yeah, so that's fun. I just booked an event with the CPA Congress in Australia in Brisbane in October. These are all things that, again, had I not lost my sight, they wouldn't be experiences that I think I'd be experiencing now. But to maybe be as specific as possible, any event where they have together in the event theme, stronger together, better together, winning together, anything where it revolves around together, I think goes really well with the power of
Get your food out.
interdependence.
Those are some good theme suggestions. People are always looking for great theme ideas. Those are good. Um, you went into this a little bit talking about the LinkedIn post, but in general, when you leave the stage, and I know people wait because they want to meet you, what kinds of things are people saying to you after they've heard you speak?
Yeah, and I think those are my favorite moments with speaking. Like, I love being on stage. It's a lot of fun, but like I said, it's that one-to-many conversation. I love getting off stage and having the one-on-one dialogue. I'd say the most common thing that happens is I get vulnerable on stage and share that I went from fully sighted to legally blind, and I pull on heartstrings and share how, it was a very tough time, and the thoughts I was going through. And one of the best things I learned from a speaking coach was, Jeremy, you're going to share your story of losing your sight so many times. Don't retell your story, relive your story.
Oh,
And
that's great.
I try to rethink that before I go on stage every time. It's like, hey, yeah, this is whatever your third speech in a week or whatever it is. Relive your
Yeah.
story. And when I do that, I have to really like tap into the emotions I was feeling when I lost my sight. And it makes it
Hmm.
more real and vulnerable, but it gets the audience to really join me in that journey more. So through doing that, people, when they come talk to me off stage, a lot of them get vulnerable and share things that they're dealing with, maybe things that they're not sharing with their colleagues, something that they're
Yeah.
going through, something their family members are going through, things of that nature. But then separately, folks will kind of go, hey, tell me more about this concept of interdependence. I'm very, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm very gung ho, independent. Oh, how can I see the power of interdependence more in my work and in my life? What are your thoughts? And we'll kind of dive into that. I'll ask them some questions, but that's what I would say are some of the most common things that I hear post presentations.
I love that. The title of this podcast is Backstage Pass, and I love to lean into my former role as an event planner and really try to ask you things that maybe event planners are wondering, but they don't even know if they should ask.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about the practical fundamentals, the logistics. Do you have a dog? Do you have a white cane? Do you travel by yourself? Does somebody need to meet you at the elevator? Tell people what to expect, because sometimes, like I said, it's uncomfortable to ask, but the questions are on your mind. So share with us what it's like to work with Jeremy.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have a dog. I have a dog, but not a seeing eye dog. We
Okay.
have we have a dog at home. She's 14 and she walks more in the shape of a lightning bolt than anything else. But she's a
Okay.
so I don't use a seeing eye dog. I don't use a cane. I kind of live this idea of interdependence where I'm not afraid to ask for help, and I travel. I would say alone to at least 90% of my speaking engagements, unless it's at Oakmont Country Club. My dad can come play golf. He's coming.
Yeah.
Um, the event I did in Costa Rica this year, the incentive trip in February, I brought my two siblings with, and they got to be there with me, so that was really fun.
Fun.
Yeah, so I travel alone for a majority of them for sure, and then I pride myself on trying to be the most low maintenance speaker you work with, and what I mean by that is like I think I'm pretty easy to work with. I try to make it as easy for you as possible, and I don't want you to ever have to worry about me. And so, one, I'm okay with anybody asking me any and all questions. Never feel uncomfortable asking me a question. I tell people, like, hey, you might feel like you're walking on eggshells asking someone with a disability question. Don't. I was fully sighted when I was 19, and every question you're probably thinking, I thought it too. And then when I arrive on site, I text the meeting planner. I say, hey, just want to let you know I've arrived at the hotel. I will see you at the tech check at 8 a.m. tomorrow or whatever time we agreed upon. And I just let them know that so they know, okay, cool, Jeremy's arrived. I don't need to worry. And then if 8 a.m. is tech check time, I try to get there at 7:50. So I'm there early. I
I
just
know
had
this is true
to,
because I've been there with you and you're so communicative and you do show up on time. But how? I can't find the ballroom half the time. How do you do that? Some of these hotels, the check-in desk is here. There's 7 elevator banks. The convention center is a 2.5 mile walk.
yeah.
How do you do it?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It takes a lot of pre-work, right? So if, like you said, I stayed at a hotel recently where the convention center was connected to it, but it was definitely a long walk from hotel to convention center
Was
to
it Las
finding the
Vegas by
room.
any chance?
It was not. It was, I want to say Charlotte.
Okay.
Uh,
Because
and,
that
and
Las Vegas situation, holy moly.
Holy moly, was right. And I have a Las Vegas event with through GDA with you guys in August. And so what I do for those types of events is I
Yes.
ask for help. So when I check in at the front desk, I say, "Hey, I need to speak at the convention center, and I need to be at that ballroom at whatever time tomorrow. Is somebody able to assist me with that?" And a large amount of times they say yes. And so I kind of bank that time in, and then if I need to get there at a certain time, I leave well in advance. But then a lot of times folks will assist me from the hotel, and I've had that happen multiple times where someone from the front desk area will walk with me all the way to the
Oh,
convention
okay.
center, and then they kind of hand me off there, and I go, "Hey, I found the room. I'm good from here." And then it's yeah, people are a lot more willing to help than I think we give them credit for, and it's kind of one of those things that I believe, Kashmir, that I'm lucky being visually impaired in the sense that I need to rely on people a little bit more than most, but that's allowed me to meet more people, have deeper connections, and have experiences that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
When you find the ballroom and you're like, I'm good.
Yep.
So there's such a variety of stages. I think when you
Yeah.
spoke for EO Dallas, we didn't even have a stage. I mean, it
Yeah.
was that small.
Yeah.
And then there's the little 6 foot, 6 inch riser. And then there's the elaborate, long stage. And you don't want to walk in front of the slides to cover them up. And how do you ground yourself? Is that the word I'm looking for? How do you block this, like a Broadway
Maybe like
actor knows their mark and they know,
yeah.
whoop, can't go past here, can't go past there. How do you put tape on the floor? How do you know why? I mean, I don't want to be watching the news and you've fallen off the stage. How do you prevent that from happening?
GDA booked a blind speaker and he fell off the stage. What happened? No. I yeah, so for me being visually impaired, I have no central vision. So I have nothing in the middle and I have complete peripheral
Mhm.
vision. So I tell people my sight's like a donut. I have the donut part, the top, the sides, the bottom. I'm missing the
Uh-huh.
big donut hole in the middle. So
Okay.
during the
That's a
tech
good
check,
explanation.
yeah, thank you. During the tech check, I'll stand on stage and kind of get a feel for the stage and the kind of what the lighting setup is like when I'm going to speak. And with the bottom of my peripheral vision, I'm aware enough to be able to see the edge of the stage and be able to walk side to side. I did do an event recently where it was to 1,000 people, and I was like, okay, during the tech check, I was like, I can walk as far right and left as I want. They said, no, we're going to be videotaping you, so we kind of don't want you to go further than this spot and this spot. So they put some white tape on the ground. Not a
Okay.
lot, but just a
Perfect.
little bit of white tape. And that just kind of gave me a sense of I can't go further left or right than that tape for the videographers.
Perfect. Okay. Good to know. Great. And you mentioned that you text. The iPhone has really become a great tool. What are some of the things that have changed since you were 19 to today? And how does that iPhone help you? I mean, it's not a commercial for Apple, but I've seen you and I'm like, man, this is amazing.
Yeah, it helps so much. Technology helps a lot. And I'm not super tech savvy. Like I'm not, there's probably so many other things that I could be using that I'm not. But when I first lost my sight, there wasn't even Uber. So I had to call taxis to take me places, and that was an interesting experience. Uber has been amazing. Using my phone to text, I can use voiceover to have text messages or emails or
Yes.
things read to me so I can listen to them quickly. Um,
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I'm able to zoom in to make things larger on my phone to be able to read them on my laptop. I can magnify text to be able to read it and see it. So
So you
it's
can
so
read the
helpful.
text on your phone.
Yeah, I mean, people who see me and don't know I'm visually impaired and see that I'm a young man and they see the font on my phone, they're like, wait, that's the font my grandpa has. Why does he have the same large font? And I put it really close to my face. And I had an Uber driver one time say, are you smelling your phone? Because I'm just looking at it really close. I said, no, man, I'm legally blind. He's like, oh, okay. I thought you were smelling it. I said, no, I don't. I'm glad you asked because I don't know why someone would ever do that.
Yeah, it's funny, thinking back to our friend Tom Sullivan, he's a blind skier. And at least when you're a blind skier, you've got the vest that says blind skier and everyone knows what's going on. But I guess you don't wear a t-shirt around that says blind Uber.
Yeah, blind guy, watch out. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, but Tom Sullivan's blind skier, blind golfer, blind singer, just absolute stud.
He really is. Jeremy, what's something that you'd like for everybody that's listening to know that I haven't asked?
Um, that's a good question. I would say when it comes to kind of things we talked about, I would say it's always good to ask and not assume. And what I mean
Mm-hmm.
by that is like, I would rather somebody ask me questions so they're blue in the face of things they want to know about, maybe
Sure.
dealing with someone who's legally blind when it comes to a speaking setting, like we're doing here. Like, ask me anything. And it's always
Yeah.
better to ask and not assume. And a story that I would relate to that is one time when I was on San Diego State's campus and I was legally blind at this point, and I'm walking up a really steep, long hill on campus. I saw somebody in a wheelchair really pushing hard. And in my mind, I go, hey, I'm going to help them out. I'm going to push them up the hill. But I went, hey, hold on. I'm going to ask and see if they want that assistance. Because I would want the same thing. I would want someone to
Yeah.
ask me before doing something. And I
Yeah.
said to them, I said, hey, would you like me to push you up the hill? And they said, no, I've got it. And I was like, huh, okay. In my mind, I would have assumed they want that. But I asked and they said no, and that's perfectly fine. And the same goes for me when folks like say, hey, do you need to hold on to my elbow or do this? I go, no, I see well enough that I can just walk alongside you and we're good. And they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I
Unless you're
think sort
wearing
of that.
cashmere.
Man, if you're wearing cashmere, I might be like, rubbing your back or something like that.
Oh, that's awesome. I am so glad that you've been here today. I mean, it's just a highlight. What a great way to start the week off. I think sharing your story, it's such a testament to what's possible when we choose connection over
Yeah.
isolation. And it really redefines what it means to be strong. So I just am really, really grateful that you're here. I'm grateful for your mom for finding blind golf. I'm grateful for your buddy. What was his name? Is his name
Josh.
Josh?
Yeah.
Yeah, love him. I want to meet him sometime. What a great guy.
Great guy.
If you're out there listening and you're an event planner and this message resonated with you, which I know it did, please give us a call. We'd love to work with Jeremy, collaborate, and create the absolute best event that not only inspires but potentially offers an experiential component. So give us a call and we'll help make that happen. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
Thank you so much for having me, Gail, and thank you for you and the whole GDA team. You guys are amazing. I'm so glad we get to partner together.
Thank you for joining us on Backstage Pass with Gail Davis. Tune in for more exclusive interviews and pro tips to elevate your events. Don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts with us. We'll catch you next time behind the curtain on Backstage Pass.